The man I met at my husband's corporate party, and the connection that shouldn't have happened. The ballroom was loud, people laughing too hard at corporate jokes, champagne glasses clinking, music playing just slightly too high, but somehow the noise faded the moment I looked up and saw him. I didn't know who he was. I didn't even register how long I'd been staring until he lifted his head, mid-conversation with someone beside him, and our eyes locked like magnets that had finally found each other after being pulled in opposite directions for years. It wasn't attraction. Not in the usual sense. It wasn't curiosity. It wasn't admiration. It was recognition. Immediate, undeniable, terrifying recognition. The kind you feel in your bones before your brain has time to catch up. My chest tightened, my hands went cold, and I swear I forgot how to breathe for a second. It felt like some ancient part of me whispered, "There you are." He didn't look away. Not even for a second. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes, something startled, something raw, told me he felt it too. The shock, the pull, the impossible familiarity. I sat beside my husband. His wife sat beside him. And yet the air between us felt like a thread had looped around us long before either of those people came into our lives. My husband, Daniel, nudged me, saying, "You okay?" "You spaced out." His voice sounded distant, like it was coming from another room. I forced a smile, nodding, hoping he couldn't hear the pounding inside my chest. I tried to look away. I really did. But every few seconds, like gravity refusing to give up, I found him again. And every time, he was already watching me. There's no polite way to describe what it felt like. It wasn't love at first sight. Love is slow, built, nurtured. This was different. This felt like running into someone you lost and mourned without ever knowing their name. Like grief and joy hitting at the same time. Like remembering and forgetting at once. Eventually, someone from the table introduced people around. When I heard his name, Elias, the sound of it shook something loose inside my memory, like dust falling off an old photograph. He reached out to shake my hand, and the moment our skin touched, that same electric jolt ran through me. He paused too, barely noticeable, but enough that I knew he felt it. He said, "Nice to meet you," but his voice had a subtle tremor. Mine was worse. I couldn't even say the usual social niceties. I just nodded like an idiot because my throat had closed up. We weren't sitting together, thank God. That would have been too much. But across the room wasn't safe either, because every time I glanced his way, he was already watching, eyes soft, confused, searching for something he couldn't name. During the charity raffle, people moved around to mingle. I told myself to stay put, to behave, to be normal. But my legs had a mind of their own, and before I knew it, I was stepping toward the balcony for some air. When I pushed the doors open, someone was already there. It was him. Elias froze when he saw me, and I froze too, but neither of us backed away. He looked down for a moment, then up again, like he was debating whether to speak. I didn't know who spoke first. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was him. But one of us said, very quietly, "Do you feel it too?" He exhaled shakily, almost in relief. I thought I was losing my mind. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the alternative was crying. "This doesn't make sense," I whispered. He looked at me with such intensity it made the night feel warmer. "It feels like I know you. Like I've known you forever." The words hit me like a soft punch. I leaned on the railing, trying to steady myself. "I'm married," I reminded myself aloud as much as him. "I know," he said, voice low. "So am I." We stood side by side, not touching, not even facing each other, but the air felt like it was humming. I told myself to walk away, that this was dangerous, emotionally, morally, practically. But something about him made staying feel as involuntary as breathing. He asked me what I did for a living. I told him. I asked him about his work. He told me. It was normal conversation, the kind you'd have with anyone. But the undertone wasn't normal. The way his voice dropped when he asked questions, the way mine softened in response, the way silence settled between us like we shared an old language, none of it was normal. Eventually, someone opened the balcony door, looking for him. It was his wife. She smiled politely at me, touched his arm, and said, "They're starting the awards." I swallowed something bitter I didn't want to name as he nodded and followed her inside. The rest of the night, I did everything I could to stay away. I stuck to Daniel, made small talk, forced myself not to look over. But I felt him. Every time he moved. Every time he laughed. Every time he walked past. My body knew before my eyes did. When the event ended, our eyes met one last time near the exit. His wife held his arm, my husband held mine. Yet it felt like two people being torn apart by something neither of them had asked for. He mouthed goodbye. I whispered it back. Outside, Daniel talked about how fun the night was. I nodded again and again, pretending to listen, pretending I hadn't just collided with someone who made the world tilt under my feet. 4 days after, I couldn't focus. I'd be making coffee and suddenly feel that spark again. I'd be folding laundry and remember the exact shade of his eyes. I'd be lying beside my husband at night and feel guilty, confused, shaken. And then, 3 days later, I checked my phone and saw a message request. From him. I stared at it so long my hand shook. All it said was, I don't know what that was, but I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. I should have ignored it. I should have deleted it immediately. Instead, my thumb hovered over accept while my heart pounded like I was standing on the edge of something that could either free me or ruin me completely. And the worst part? A small, quiet part of me hoped he felt ruined too.